Hey guys, it's Ten Pipes, and today I'm going to be showing off my Galarian Weezing Toolbox deck list, of course in the standard format, and we have the main attacker here in Galarian Weezing, which is really interesting. It has its powerful neutralizing gas ability, which is really the build round of the entire deck, and what makes it so strong. And it essentially ability locks your opponent if it's in the active position. And this is obviously very powerful because there are so many powerful abilities in the format, such as Drizzile and Inteleon, to keep decks consistent. Also, things like Crobat, Octillery, Sylveon, all of those powerful abilities. And even just weird things that you wouldn't expect. Pretty much every deck relies on abilities, so it's very powerful. You also have the Severe Poison attack, which is just poisoning for 4 damage counters instead of 1, which is really nice. And just an attack that it's not the best attack in the world, but you can certainly get by with it. And only 1 energy is pretty nice as well. However, of course, one issue is getting it up quickly, and we have Coughing from Shining Fates to get this job done. This Ascension attack allows you to search for the evolution and just play it straight onto it, so that's really good if you're going second. Obviously, most decks in format want to go first, and this deck's not really an exception to that. However, when going second, it can be very good as well, applying a lot of pressure with the Ascension into the ability lock, meaning your opponent can't play their Drizziles to set up, or any of their other Pokemon, such as Houndoom to accelerate a bunch of energy in the single strike decks. And it's just really good overall. But it's not always good enough, so we have a backup attacker in the form of Sableye V, and it has the very powerful Crazy Claws attack, dealing for 2 Darkness Energy, 6 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon, and 10 more as well. And so if they have around 5 damage counters, that means you are doing 310 damage plus the 50 already on them, meaning you're doing 360 damage, one-shotting any Pokemon in the format. You also can deal less damage. For example, if they just have 1 damage counter, you do 70 for a total of 80, allowing you for the easy 2-shot. And overall, it's really powerful. Of course, the 4 from Poison is very good, but if you need a little extra push, you play the Galarian Zigzagoon from Sword and Shield, allowing you to just place 1 damage counter when you play that, which is quite nice for getting some of the math right and setting things up in places. So that's very powerful. But we also need a consistency engine and a little bit of boost to our engine and damage output. So we, of course, have the Inteleon engine with the Shady Dealings Drizzile and 1 copy of the Shady Dealings Inteleon to set up our pieces so we don't miss things. And it's a deck that can be pretty forgiving, because if we do miss stuff in the early game, just an Ascension from the Coughing can get us back in the game really quickly, even if we miss some of our basics turn 1. We also, of course, have the Chilling Reign Inteleon with its quick shooting ability, which is so powerful, just placing 2 damage counters on one of our opponent's Pokemon every single turn. And our opponent won't be able to respond too well to this usually, because they will be under the ability lock, so we can just hold them back, force them to not do too much while we slowly weaken all their Pokemon with the poison and the quick shooting, allowing us to do massive amounts of damage every turn. Of course, the quick shooting also allows us to hit the right numbers with Sableye if we need to. We also have a couple more attackers in this, making it a toolbox style deck. We have the Galarian Moltres from the Chilling Reign with its Dire Flame Wings ability, allowing you to accelerate energy from itself from the discard pile. And then you can swing in with the Aura Burn attack, doing a solid 190 for 3 damage for 3 energy, and then also 30 to itself. Just a very solid attacker overall. It will 2-shot VMAXs, and it's also very good against Dragapult, and pretty solid against Urshifu VMAX and Jolteon VMAX as well. So just something nice for their spread decks if they get set up. And then on the other side of things, we have a very weak attacker in Medicham V. Of course, we don't play any fighting energy, so we can't use that Smash Uppercut attack. However, we do play tons of Dark Energy, which can fulfill the colorless attack cost of Yoga Loop. It allows you to put 2 damage counters, same thing as quick shooting. However, it allows you to take an extra turn if you take the KO. One of the issues with attacking with cards like Sableye or Moltres, even though you do take the KO, you now open your opponent up to use all their abilities again. However, if you take a KO with Medicham, this means that you can retreat out of Medicham back into your Weezing to keep up the ability lock while doing extra damage and taking more KOs. It's really nice because It can be used in a number of ways. For example, if their active's poisoned, you get some extra damage on that, I believe. Actually, I'm not 100% sure on that because it's not going between your turn. And, sorry, you don't because you skip Pokemon Checkup. However, it does allow you to reuse Quick Shooting, which is very nice and just gets more damage in play, not through the poison, but through the Inteleons. It can allow you to charge up your Moltres more. It can allow you just to get those extra energy attachments and supporters as well. And then just to smooth out even more so, we play a copy of Crobat V, which is really powerful with the Dart asset ability, allowing you to draw till you have 6 cards in your hand. And that's just very powerful early game when you need to find your Sobbles to set up and our energy to drop, as well as during the late game when you're digging for your game-winning cards. Now we have some pretty standard trainers here. We just have 4 Quick Ball, 4 Level Ball, and 3 Evo Incense. We could even bring that Evo Incense up to 4 if we want to. Overall, the deck's pretty consistent, and I like where it's at, but I could see changing these counts a little bit. So we then also have 3 Scoop Up Nets. I might drop this to make more room for some consistency cards. But Scoop Up Net just allows us to reuse the Galarian Zigzagoon. It's one of the main purposes. It also allows us to scoop up Sobble if we happen to start it, which is fine, because then we want to get into our Ascension Coughing if we go second. We'll get into that as soon as we can anyways, so that's nice as another switch out. But we do have 2 copies of Air Balloon as well to switch out any of our Pokemon except for Galarian Weezing. Keep in mind that has a retreat cost of 3, which is just something you need to pay attention to, which can make it awkward to get out. If you have an energy on and the Air Balloon, you can retreat out of there, but you will lose your energy. You will also Scoop Up Net your Weezing if you want to get that out of there sometimes as well. You can also use Scoop Up Net to scoop up the Inteleon lines to keep your engine going into the late game, but I could see dropping the count some. We also play pretty standard supporters for Marnie. Then we play 2 research and only 1 boss. We can obviously search them out really well with the Inteleon line. And they're not as important. As I said, this deck's not too punishing if you miss your early cards. Honestly, I've had games where I've missed pretty much everything. And a few turns later, I got coughing, and I'm right back in it because it can completely shut your opponent down with coughing. And then just Marnie's nice to draw more cards, disrupt our opponent, and even though they do get to see more cards, they just see cards that they probably can't do much with. And then the 1 boss is for finishing things up. You don't really need too many copies because a lot of the times you will be taking out things on the bench with Inteleon and Medicham, and you can just take things pretty slowly. If you miss a KO here or there because they retreat, it's usually not a huge deal. As I said, you can finish it off with Inteleon. The 2 copies of Raihan and also the copy of Energy Switch allow you to get up Sableye and Medicham in 1 turn, which is really nice. The Raihan obviously accelerates, and the Energy Switch compare nicely with Moltres V. You can also use Energy Switch off of just whatever you feel like. I use Energy Switch honestly in pretty much every game. I might switch out 1 Raihan for 1 Energy Switch. Both are very nice in the deck, but the Energy Switch can be used really early to essentially make up for a missed attachment or speed it up. If you just get your first turn attachment to Weezing, you can go directly into Sableye if you want after that, or go into Medicham or something if the game happens to flow that way. And then to round it out, we play 9 energies, 6 basic for the Galarian Moltres, Energy Switch, and Raihan, then 3 copies of Hiding Darkness to allow our Galarian Weezing to retreat mainly. It does allow the Crobat, Sableye, or Galarian Moltres V to retreat as well, or even the Galarian Zigzagoon. But generally, it's just for the Weezing to retreat, occasionally the Sableye. But overall, the deck's very powerful. One of the things I love about it is it can go second with Ascension and still be very solid. It also can trade very favorably with a lot of decks. It can really shut a bunch down as well. And you can take big KOs with Sableye, take extra turns with Medicham, and accelerate and be very consistent with low maintenance with Galarian Moltres. And then the Inteleon Edge just to buff it out a little. I'd highly recommend this deck to anyone who wants to have something a little bit different, not a VMAX deck, and not just Zacian, but something really completely different than every other deck in the meta. And if you want to see some more content, more decks, more gameplay, I'd appreciate if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And also, if you have any thoughts on this list, thoughts on different lists, or different content you'd like to see, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave a comment down below. I should have some gameplay of this deck up in a few days, and see you then.